name is Nate Fields. Everyone, I am from the city of New Orleans. It is 1,000 degrees down in New Orleans right now, so it is a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much. Oh my gosh, I was walking over here and I was like, I can wear my suit in comfort. Oh, this is nice. I came outside, yesterday from my office, walked across the street, and it was 1,000 degrees heat. I was like getting to my car, so it was literally from like right here to where the door is. And by the time I got to my car, I was drenched. I'm on my way to meet with somebody at the governor's office to talk about the Super Bowl that's coming for next year. And I'm like, how can I go in there looking like this? I went into the meeting, everybody was drenched. I was like, yes, we match. They were like, I'm sorry, we were outside. And I was like, no, we're matchies. Let's do it. Let's talk. So I want to talk to you a little bit about what we're working on currently in New Orleans. We call it Home for Good, and I'm going to break you down a couple of things that we're currently looking at. So we're going to talk about the initial progress of everything that we have going on, national media coverage, what's next in quarter 2 and 3. We're currently at the end of quarter 3, so I'm going to break that down a little bit, and securing the remaining funds. This has been an exciting time period. I've been at New Orleans since February 18th of 2023, and we've done a lot of progressive stuff. Had a lot of issues, trying to get people to get on board with us. They are the Big Easy. I am from Baltimore, by way of New York. I like things to move relatively fast, and they don't. So I'm learning. Okay, it's a learning curve. I'm getting it down, but I came up with this crazy idea to like house all of the people on the street, because that's like literally my job. That's a great initiative to try to get to, right? But I was looking at all right, post-Katrina, we had this, huge housing issue in the city of New Orleans. New Orleans got rid of 1,500 housing units by closing their affordable housing. And I was like, why? Gentrification. You had a lot of persons start moving in, building up in the downtown location, shutting down the affordable housing units, building these housing units that were in the area that looked really nice and pretty, but they took away a large portion of those affordable housing units, losing up to 1,000 units within the continuum. And when I saw this, I was like, all right, we have this big issue here. We don't have enough units already. I can see that. But then another thing was happening at the same time. The housing market was going up. And not just the housing, but also the insurances. Post-Katrina, the insurances shot up through the roof in New Orleans, and they couldn't get a lot of persons to insure houses in New Orleans because of Katrina. So now I'm paying $1,500 versus what it used to be was $500. Within that short time period, it went from $500 from affordable housing up to $1,500. And during that time period, nobody had any increases in their day-to-day pay, right? So we start seeing this large gap widen fast. We were one of the fastest cities growing in that time period post-Katrina, trying to play catch-up on the national curve. So I said, all right, look, I want to get all of the people off the street. So I wanted to do target encampment decommissioning in the inner core, the stuff that you can see in downtown New Orleans. Now, when I first started this work, people looked at me and was like, Nate, you're crazy. That's never going to happen. These encampments have been here now since so many years. You're never going to be able to move them. And I was like, all right, cool, great. Not a problem. Let me show you something. I'm crazy. I want to actually try to do this. And I want to do it before you do the big game, which is the Super Bowl. That's why you want to do this? I said, no, I want to do this because grants passed. That's why I really want to do it. I want to make sure that I'm actually housing people versus pushing people around or criminalizing these individuals, because I'm a person with lived expertise. What does that mean, folks? I was homeless myself with my 2-year-old daughter at 15 years old. Crazy. We don't talk about a lot of fathers who were a part of that family structure when we speak to that. We always talk about moms and children. We don't have a lot of systems in place for dads with children. I want all the providers to think about that. Don't forget us, dads with children. All right. I'm going to check on y'all later on. So from 2023-25, I want to coordinate housing navigation for all unsheltered persons, those one-offs. I want to really dive into that in that time period. Why is this important? The encampment work is going to be resolved, the big groups of people we can see. The one-offs are the persons I got to go look for. Now, I'm a non-traditional director. My staff want me to stay in the office. I have a fractured ankle, and I have a whole lot of health issues. I'm just going to say that. And recently, my birthday just passed, August the 1st. Thank you so much. I'm trying to hold it together for 27 and older. So my grandson was at one of the conferences, and he heard me say that. He was like, Papa, you old. You're not 27. I said, that's why I send you to your mom's house all the time. So I want to build a system out there that can handle the one-offs. I want to go from us running to encampments and doing a diversion model, because that's important. All right? I want to catch the person before they hit the street. I don't want them going in the sheltering process and being warehoused for several years. I don't want them getting to a place where they're living in the car and trying to run from one location to the next location, scared that somebody is after them, or being in a system that's consistently pushing them further and further away from housing. I want them to get captured before they get into that system. So I want to get into diversion. I'm about to get kicked out of my apartment. Here's 6 months rent. I want to be there. And I think that we have a place in New Orleans where we can actually make that happen. I think there's a place in every city where we can make that happen, but I got to start with mine first. I ain't hating on Raleigh. I actually like it here, but you guys got a lot of money. Anyway, in 2023 and beyond, accelerated exits into housing from shelter systems. Now, I got to get people out the shelter systems because I need to create system flow. I can only create system flow from the shelter level. Why is that important? The person falls out of housing. I don't have a resource to catch them. I can put them in the shelter, but I need to get them out of the shelter just as quickly as I got them into the shelter. So what I'm doing is two processes at once. I'm doing a localized process, but I'm doing a national process as well. Advocating locally, I want more resources from the local level, federal, state, city, whatever I can get. I need those resources to go directly to the people. But on a national scale, I'm sitting down with HUD and saying, listen, you want us to actually look at chronically homelessness and say that that's okay for a 12-month period for any individual to experience homelessness, and I say wrong. For a 12-month period, I almost went crazy. I was sitting in that car, I was making it okay for living in the car, and I was playing games with my child in the streets where people were stepping over needles and bottles. That was not okay. Like I talk to my therapist to this day about, like, oh my gosh, man, I remember when I was, and he's like, let's talk about that for a moment. I'm like, I really don't, but man, that was crazy. So when I see the person on the street who's getting high, I walk up on them and they're like, oh, Mr. Nate, I'm so sorry. I'm like, nah, bro, I understand, man. What you got? Go ahead, do your thing. I'll be right back. I'll be right over here. They get finished, and then I house them. Well, Nate, they're going to go into housing and get high again. Everybody who gets off of work goes home and drinks some alcohol or smoke that cigarette, roll up a blunt. It's okay. We're human beings. We have our vices. But that person should not be criminalized because of the fact that they are experiencing the same exact thing that we want on a day-to-day basis, some sense of relief. Now, somebody asked me also, it was like, why are you advocating so hard for persons who use drugs? I use drugs too. It was a thing that I went through. It was a part of my life. And it was not an easy thing to get over, but it was something that I had to accept and deal with. Now that I'm here at this place, I can now advocate for that individual and bring them into the conversation. Persons with lived expertise need to be at the table if you're making sustainable changes in your community. Pathway number one, direct to housing. Yay, because a person should not have to sit in the shelter. Put them in a housing unit and watch their life change. You want to see somebody get better? Put them in a sustainable place where they can control the outcome. Crazy, I know. So we did that. So I took 167 people off of the street, put them into housing, and guess what? 91% stayed. I know. Imagine somebody wanting to actually stay in their house. It's crazy. I'm going to lock my door and turn on the AC. So right here, this is O.C. Haley, and I put up the little thing. So the little piece there, you can't see the whole thing up. Don't worry about it. I'll tell you the story. So this is actually a liquor store owner who was working across the street from where the encampment used to be at, in these nice little pretty blocks where we have the walls all painted now. It used to be one of the largest encampments in downtown New Orleans. So The guy came over to me, he said, "You need to fix this. This is terrible, and people out here urinating, defecating, they're using drugs, and no matter how many people you house, they're just gonna come back and they're gonna use drugs." And I was like, "And you're running a wine store. People use your drugs all the time, sir." I said, "But I'm gonna help you over here. I'm gonna get all these persons off the street. I'm gonna clean the area. I'm gonna post signage, and we're gonna keep working in this area." And he was like, "Oh, I'll believe it when I see it." 2 weeks later, he wrote this nice little note over here. "I just want to thank Nate Fields, the director of Homeless Care, and in collaboration with Councilwoman Harris for doing all of the wonderful work." And I posted that because it say like, I love the naysayer. They give me the energy to keep doing the work because I'm crazy and I have this crazy idea of ending homelessness. I like that. It gives me the energy to wake up and prove them wrong every single day. So we got a little bit of, media coverage. They put us up 12% reduction in homelessness. They went out with me into the encampment locations and talking to persons who were formerly unhoused, and then we housed them, and then they came back and talked to those same individuals, and they were like, "The program is actually working." And I was like, "Yep, proof of concept, folks. It's crazy. I thought I'd get people off the street into housing, and I did it, and guess what? I'm going to keep doing it." Now we're at this point, right? We're at this point where we are now talking about how we can do outward-facing innovations. I want persons to track the process. I want to be very transparent in this process, that there are going to be some points where we're going to have shortcomings. And in those shortcomings, we're going to have to adjust. And I'm okay with the adjustment. I'm not okay with people not doing the work, and that's what was happening for a really long time. So my last large grouping of encampments was June 14th. I closed 3 encampments at the same time, sites 4, 5, and 6. That was 29 people that was housed in those locations. Half of those encampments, like literally right down the middle, were persons who were severely mentally ill. Once we put them into housing, we got them ACT and FACT teams, and we gave them full wraparound services. Those individuals came back and said, "Thank you. This is all we really wanted. No shelter, nobody holding us to this process and sending us through treatment. I want to go get clean now that I'm in my own place, because I know my stuff is going to be there when I return." This is the way we want to continue to move forward. So we went and secured some additional fundings, and a lot of our money has recently come through a lot of private investments, and we still have a lot of fundraising to do. But in this fundraising efforts, we started off this process with $230K that came from our business council and community. The city put on the table about $5 million to start the process. And then we also infused another $8 million to continue the process. So just on Thursday of last week, we signed over $2.5 to start up the rapid rehousing for the second tranche of the encampment work, which puts us at sites 7, 8, and 9. So right here, the rehousing packages and the flex fund. Broke it down for you so you can kind of look at it. What we're trying to get to is the 1,500 units. What we have at the flex funds, we want to get to 3 million. So far in the flex funds, we're right in the middle, $1.5 million that the city has put on the table, as well as our private investors. Unity got a federal grant for $15 million, which will allow us to have 420 units. The city helped with ARPA funding, which helped us get 158 units, which is the flex fund at $1.5 million. Private funders to $200K. And if we do this the correct way, we'll have the additional gap monies, which is the $11 million with 515 units, and the $1.3 million which we're currently missing to complete our goal to be able to finish this entire process. Now, this amazing guy right here, as you can see, he's out in the encampment. He picks up the needle. People are like, "Oh my God, they're so disgusting. They do drugs and they're on the street corners. And Nate, you got to do more to help these folks out." I am doing more. Not only can you come up and talk to me and I can work you through your process, but my team is also with you every single day to make sure that you get your needs met. What we want to do is be real people to real people. All right? One of the funny things today that happened today, I was told to sit at the speaker's table, and I was like, "No, I want to sit where the people are." And I've always done that. The reason why is because I think that I have a lot more to learn from the general population than I do from the persons who are already doing the work. I stay embedded to that, which keeps me true to my promises that I made to myself a long time ago, that the persons who are actually experiencing the life experiences will be the ones who are going to navigate how I move forward. They're going to keep me true and keep me grounded in this work because I need to be transparent. I need to be real, and I also need to be held accountable. If I am at fault at any point in time, I want the persons who are the constituents to be the one at the table saying, fix it, which will make me responsive to that. I am a government official now, but before that I was in the private sector. And when I was in the private sector, I used to say, if I get into this position, I'm going to make sure I'll never be that guy. And I've held true to that every day since then. I told the man when I came in here, I'm a problem starter. I'm going to cause a lot of issues. And if you got my back, and then my mayor, who she is, if you have not met Mayor Cantrell, this is the mayor who made Back That Ass Up Day a real day in the city of New Orleans. Sit on that for a moment. June 11th, Back That Ass Up Day. So, of course, she was like, oh, I'm down, let's do it. And I was like, all right, let's do this then. Every time I go out in public and act a fool, she's like, and he said it too. I'm like, that's what I'm talking about, my mayor. But also the city council were looking at me like, you cause a lot of issues. I was like, I just house a lot of people. And they said, you know what? We're going to give you a lot more money. So return on investment. I like to show proof of concept. Today I'm showing you proof of concept, but I'm not done yet. Because now we've done proof of concept in the outreach efforts. Now I want to show proof of concept in the sustainability efforts. So the next part of this is building a sustainability system, was make sure that people stay in the housing. It's wonderful that we got people off the streets. How much wonderful will it be when we keep people in the housing from off those streets? We are at this place now in the United States of America where we're seeing a lot of change happen. But a lot of the providers have now started to dial back and started to go in a different direction and pivot, or some have slowed down altogether. My thing is keep your foot on the gas. We got to make sure that we're touching every single one of those individuals who are in our community, not just the business side. Because I want to have a response for the business side. And sometimes they don't like my response. Matter of fact, I don't care if they don't like my response. Because I like them angry at me. I want to say that again. I like them angry at me. Because when they come to my offices and they're sitting there complaining, and I say, all right, you don't like my solution. Help me create a better system. You know how you can help? Cut the check. How will you show up in this next couple of years as we're starting to do this transition? This is an election year that is coming upon us, correct? We need to vote and make sure that we're pushing people into office who have the same agenda as us. We have to change our community ways of thought, but the only way we can change the community is to be a part of it. And we have to make sure that persons are at the table to ensure that we can continue doing this work at high level. What Raleigh's about to embark on is going to be similar to what we have been doing in New Orleans. And this can be duplicated in some locations. It can't be duplicated everywhere. Some parts of it you can take apart and do that here. But the one big piece is you can listen to the people, you can be responsive, you can create more affordable housing. You can do those things. Those things can be universal, but hold your city accountable. Hold those persons in charge accountable. Hold the persons who are elected officials accountable. Make sure that the law enforcement are a part of this and not more problematic than solution-oriented. Because they can be. And they don't have to be. I started off outreach with 3 police officers. And when they went out there, they were like, oh my God, that's a criminal offense. That's a criminal offense. And I was like, go lock them up. Go ahead, go get them. You want us to do that? Do you want to do that? Or do you want to be credible officers? Well, we'll follow you, Nate. All right, so it sounds like you want to be credible officers. Let me show you how to do it the correct way. Take off your uniform. Here's this polo. Put on these sneakers. Here, this right here, these are syringes. You're going to pass those out. We're going to give them drug needles. They're going to use drugs in front of us. I was like, I'd rather them use them in front of us than in an alleyway where they can't be found. Now we have harm reduction models in each one of the cities that I've been working in, but I had to fight. I put 24 years getting in the game. Started off as this guy who just wanted to yell at people every single day, and I said, no, it's not fair, Nate. Step up, get into these authoritative positions, and start helping to change the system. The persons who are elected officials, they want to know more. Don't blame them for their ignorance. Help educate them. Pull them in as a community. Because they want to shift the system, but they just don't know how to. And they think that from their perspective and from what they have researched is correct. But we have the ability, as we have put persons in these positions, to hold them accountable. But not just hold them accountable, be solution-oriented. That's not right. Then tell me what is. We can do that. You're paying the salaries. Now come to the table and be more influential with what your money looks like. If you want your money to move correctly, be the ones who orchestrate what that looks like. Okay? Now, I want to have this conversation and dialogue, so I hope y'all are using the QR code. Y'all heard what Brady was saying the whole time. Y'all better use that QR code. Stop playing with Brady. He been asking y'all all day real nice. Use the QR code. Get on there. Stop playing with me. Use that QR code. Put some questions in there. So use the QR code and get these questions in, because Brady ain't playing with you. I got your back, Brady. Don't worry about it. I got your back. Now, I do want to leave you with something, because I like to have fun in my work, but I'm serious about this. I live this. 24 years in, even though I'm 28. I want you to own this piece. What am I going to do after today? Because, see, I like to go to school, right? And I like to learn a lot of stuff, but I also like homework. And I need you to take that homework home with you today. What can I do to influence what this change is going to look like? What are you going to bring to the table to influence the change of this system? Please, if you're not the person who's doing the work, find the people who are. If you're not the person who can feel like they can do the physical labor, make sure that you influence those persons who can bring the dollars to the table. Use your activism, your voice, to be able to create sustainable change. Raleigh can be a system change leader. Are you willing to participate? All right.
Thank you so much, Nate. That was just such a great presentation and really incredible work that you've done. The people have been using the QR code, so we've got a lot of questions for you. We won't be able to get to all of them, but I'll try to do my best here. We had a lot of questions along this vein. Where did you all find housing for folks? Where did people get housed? Did you have available housing? How were you able to do that so quickly?
Bought our way into the system. I took a bunch of money, like $2 million. I went to landlords and said, hey, hold this unit for me for $500. Then I'm going to pay you rent. Then I'm going to give you first month's security deposit, up to 12 months rent. If something happens to your unit, I'll fix your unit. And if you can't get past inspection, I'll pay for that too. I bought my way into the system. Yeah. I had money, I used it. I like using other people's money. It was fun.
Could you talk a little bit more about that other money that was used? Did you use any federal funds? And if so, how did you plug those in?
Yep, so I used, we have the COVID relief dollars or ARPA funding, home ARPA funding. I got some money from New Orleans. I got some money from the state. I also fundraised a lot of money, and the fundraised money is what really pushed it forward. I infused it with $500,000 from the Flex Fund, and then I also brought in some other private persons who dropped some large numbers on the table to be able to hold those units. So yes, combination of things.
Thank you. Can you talk a little bit more about that rehousing package? It sounds like the rent was paid to landlords, or how did that kind of flow?
Yeah, so we paid the landlords directly. We made sure that the individuals had safe units, and also the wonderful piece is if anything went south and the landlord tried to do something to one of our guests, we would step in as the city and we would help with the transition with our burning landlord relationship.
Can you describe the structure of the outreach teams? And what's your plan moving forward?
Yeah, so the structure is our COC, they have 4 outreach workers. Travelers Aid is one of our partners that we actually pay for them to expand their outreach in case management. So they expanded by additional, they had, 6 outreach workers. We gave them 8 more. And then they also brought on 8 or maybe 9 case managers to help with the system with 20 persons per case managers. We did not want to go above 20 persons. We wanted to keep it really low so they can really focus on those individuals. And most of those case managers stayed around like 15, 16 individuals so they can do a lot more hands-on work with the persons that they're working with. Oh yeah, and then I brought in my own outreach team. And my outreach workers are trying to keep me out of the field every single week. Good luck.
Let's see. All right, I think we've got time for one more. Can you just talk kind of big picture, zooming out, what are the key elements of your strategy that other cities like Raleigh might be able to replicate?
I think everything you can replicate here in Raleigh, honestly. It's not one part that we are doing that you could not. I think the piece of like building new affordable houses might be not feasible for everyone who don't have those resources. Right now, we have a lot of resources as we have the NFL sitting in our backyard getting ready for Super Bowl. So every time they ask me about the homeless encampment, I'm like, you know what? I can't take care of that for the low, low price of $5 million. If you could give $1 per individual, I can have them all knocked out in a week's time. Can you do it? Can you do it? But not only using those resources currently, but also making sure that those ARPA funds are transferable over into general funds, and I can continue to keep the mayor's office accountable to those monies coming in. $2.5 million for rapid rehouses for unhoused individuals, $2.5 million for individuals who are in the shelter process, and the remainder of the money is held in place to keep persons who are already in housing in housing.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Nate. Really
No problem.
appreciate it.
Thank you.